Root of Nightmares is the newest raid in Destiny 2, and it's actually super easy to complete, but chances are you could be doing some things wrong, and you could always be doing some things better. I've always been somebody who likes to know the absolute best way to do something inside of Destiny, plus we're currently running speedruns for this brand new raid, so in this video I'm going over the 6 things that you should be doing to make Root of Nightmares way easier. Getting straight into things with Cataclysm, aka the first encounter, I see a lot of people dedicating their team as follows. 2 to 3 people will always worry about Scions and Ad Clear, then 2 to 3 people worry about the Tormentors and Champions, leaving only one person to deal with all the nodes. This means that person running nodes needs to travel back and forth between the source and the next node that spawns anywhere from 8 to 14 total times, depending on the set you're on, which can take a while. But if you guys end up just switching your roles around, you can go from clearing a set in 30 seconds to an entire minute down to something like 10 seconds. In this clip, we all just grab the very first source, go to a different node each, and then whenever we shoot our node, we call that out by saying shot. That way, somebody can just sit at the original source and keep hitting it after people shoot to spawn in the next node in the line. On top of that, whenever the source moves, someone will also be right there ready to hit it, preventing anyone from ever needing to move around, and you can get each set done ASAP. This is going to work especially well for the first 2 sets, since there's going to be one node for each player to deal with. And keep in mind, since you aren't killing the Scions when doing this because you're going so fast, you don't need to worry about Tormentors or Champions during this encounter. Even if you guys end up just having 3 or 4 players doing the nodes, this is going to drastically speed things up for your team and make it so you deal with less Tormentors during the encounter overall. Moving on to the second encounter, we have 2 pretty cool things that you guys can be doing here, the main thing being hitting nodes efficiently. I see a lot of people who are newer to the raid only doing one color node set when they run, meaning somebody is doing all the light and somebody is doing all the dark. That makes it so that every single time a runner has to hit their next node, they need to cross the chasm, going back and forth for the source and the next node each time, which just increases the chance that you get launched off the map or fail a skate and die. Instead, what you guys should be doing is hitting 2 nodes on the same side each time. This is the strat that we used in the 2-man version of the raid and allows you to complete each floor much faster while also allowing you to cross half as often, reducing your chances to mess up. Here, I would just grab the light source and then do the first light node, then on the exact same side, grab the dark source, then do the next dark node. Then I would grab the dark source again before I cross over to now do the exact same thing on the other side. Do a dark first, grab a light, then do a light, you get the picture. With this as a little bonus for tip number 3, there are also spots on each side of the arena that you guys can use to jump up to the next floor early. You can do this for the 2nd and 3rd floors, obviously not the first because you're spawning there, and this way you can get a head start on doing the next set of nodes as soon as they spawn. This is also just going to help speed the encounter up a bit and is a fun thing to do. Moving on to encounter number 3, the major thing you should be aiming to do here is one phase, which is actually super easy if you're using the right stuff. For anyone to be able to do this on any class, you either want a demo rocket or a clown cartridge rocket. This way you can get off 2 rockets very quickly, and then also in Izanagi's Burden to follow up with a ×4 honed edge shot. You are also going to want one person on Well of Radiance for a 25% buff, which every team should have, a player who can run Tractor Cannon for a 30% debuff, and then obviously one person on Galahorn. Lastly, you do want to have as many people on damage supers as you can. Blade Barrage, T-Crash, and Needle Storm all work great. And if you do also have raid armor with the mod Flux of Darkness, this can easily increase your super damage by up to 25%. With this full setup, the bake is actually super easy. All you need to do is have the player on Tractor Cannon apply the debuff. Then when you see the boss glowing purple, the rest of your team just needs to rocket, grenade, rocket, then swap to Izanagi's and shoot him in the crit spot. Make sure you reload both your weapons and then do this for each and every plate. Also, make sure that when you super, you're on a dark plate because that's how you're going to get the 25% increase and you should see the boss get melted. If you're on a class that doesn't get grenades back for each phase, that is when field prep is more useful, so just use that instead. Right now, this is the most consistent one phase strat, and even without supers, you can one phase, but it's just going to be a bit tighter. Lastly, moving on to Nazarak, to make this encounter go as fast and as seamless as possible, you should just have 3 people running, doing nodes on each side. After you hit your node, you can then go immediately hit the next source that appears. That's going to then spawn the next node for your teammates. And since you just grabbed the light or dark buff, you can just run over and hit the next node in that order. We also make sure to call out whenever we hit the next node so that the person that's hitting the source next knows when it's okay for them to hit without disrupting things. This is pretty much the exact same thing we do for first encounter. And also note that the source will always be located 2 locations behind where the last node was hit. So knowing this just makes it easier to know where you need to look for the next source. Doing this strat lets us consistently get the nodes done in around 30 seconds, so we never need refuge. The final thing that we do in this raid is also have one player who's on the light side grab Nazarak's aggro by shooting his chest when he's doing his hatred. This will make Nazarak attack them for 10 seconds, and then after this, they stop doing the nodes and keep his aggro near the plate that we deal damage on. This is amazing because it prevents the boss from being halfway across the map whenever you start damage. And if you do get him close enough to the flower that you're dealing damage on, he will sometimes be locked and never TP or jump up in the air. From here, literally just have your entire team spam rockets with surges, and it's borderline impossible to not one-phase this boss. Using both of these strats will easily take a 3 to 4 minute encounter clear down to less than 2 minutes, preventing all the headache and allow you to always get the max time out of your DPS phase. That is everything we do in the Root of Nightmares raid for our speedruns. We currently run a few times each week over on my Twitch if you guys are interested in seeing full runs. A link to that and my Discord server are both in the description below. I figured this would be a cool kind of video to make to show you guys the most optimal strats for a raid. Obviously, some things have been slightly modified to make it easier for people to do without any major practice, but either way, it should help make the raid much easier to run. Let me know where you guys rank Root of Nightmares compared to other raids in the comments down below. Anyways, that's all for this video. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.